This company stole over $3 billion from more than 700,000 investors across 240 countries between 2012 and 2015. From 2015 to date, more than 15 lawsuits have been filed against this company, and none of them have been solved until date. Many of its investors lost their lives because of this scam, while others couldn't recover from the financial catastrophe that struck them. So what exactly is this multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme disguised as an internet phone service company, and how did the company escape with billions of dollars in investor money till date? Keep watching as we unveil the untold story of one of the biggest scams in recent times, the Telex reinvestment scheme. The present financial world is full of opportunities as well as lies and deceit, branded as the digital revolution. One such revolution was made by a company in the telecommunications sector, promising to improve communication and advertising services. The founders of the company envisioned that it would also offer participants a chance to gain some financial rewards just for joining it and carrying out some tasks. Aspiring members would need to purchase membership packages to qualify to earn big returns simply by posting ads for services run by the company online. The promise of lucrative profits by this company with minimal effort from participants appeared innovative and appealed to thousands of people worldwide. Soon, the company was able to attract millions of investors who were getting paid as promised. But what these investors didn't know was that this would turn into an unsustainable scam, turning out to be another get-rich-quick scheme, forcing 1,000s to reset and start over financially. Ultimately, these scams make you waste time in achieving financial success and don't develop any real skills, putting you further behind in career development. That's why it's ultra important to find a legit lucrative alternative, such as course careers. If these individuals picked one of their career paths, such as tech sales, they would have made just as much, if not more, income working from home and having a long-term legit career developing sales skills. Course careers not only helps you develop your skills, they are directly networked with hiring managers who trust that their course graduates are the best to be hired. For example, a carpenter just transitioned into a software developer without any previous experience or college degree within 4 months and landed a 8-week job. Luckily for you, you can start learning for free through the free introduction course if you use the link in the description below to sign up now. So, instead of investing in companies that sell you dreams, you can start creating the dreams yourself. However, let's get back to our story. Sadly, investors in this scam operation knew no better, and after only a few years of operations, things took a dramatic turn. It turned out that what the company said it stood for wasn't what it really was. It was actually a multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme disguised as an internet phone service company. But how exactly did it all begin? Over a decade ago, Carlos Wanzeler and James Merrill formed a company touted to be involved in the sale of a voice-over internet protocol, VoIP, telephone service, similar to Skype. The service would enable customers to make free calls to Brazil and Latin America. All that was required was to sign up on the company's website. The website prominently featured James Merrill, who is the leader of the company, as an experienced businessman in the telecom field. As for Carlos Wanzeler, he was portrayed as a co-founder, even though the technology upon which the company was built was borrowed from Disc Avantade, Wanzeler's old company. The company had headquarters in Massachusetts, Nevada, and Brazil, and the management stated that both James Merrill and Carlos Wanzeler hold 50% ownership in the United States entity and 20% and 40% interests, respectively, in the Brazilian entity. Now, talking about the company's compensation structure, which includes bonuses and recruitment commissions, the company offered its VoIP program at a flat monthly fee of $49.9, giving participants, otherwise known as investors, the opportunity to invest either $289 or $1,375. Participants who invested $289 would get 1 advertisement kit and 10 VoIP programs. Similarly, participants who invested $1,375 would receive 5 advertisement kits and 50 VoIP programs. Here's how the advertisement kit worked. Participants were required to post pre-written ads to various classified ad websites provided to them by the company using an automated system. These classified ad sites already had thousands of ads posted by earlier participants. By simply completing these tasks every day, investors would get certain returns ranging between 200% and 250%, depending on the investment option. In the case of participants who invested $289, posting one advertisement per day for a year would earn them a profit of at least $681. Similarly, participants who initially invested $1,375 and only posted 5 advertisements per day would receive a minimum profit of $3,675. This return was the honeypot that made the website attractive to hundreds of thousands of people. Meanwhile, rather than generating actual retail sales of the VoIP product, the ad posting was meant to drive traffic to the company's website. For recruitment commissions, old participants would receive substantial financial incentives to recruit others to join the website. However, to qualify for such a recruitment commission, which may be as much as $100, each participant needed to have one VoIP customer. And if a participant could recruit multiple individuals, they became eligible for revenue-sharing bonuses of up to $3 of the company's VoIP program sales. In the real sense, the recruitment commissions only existed in theory. Practically, participants already qualified for the commission simply by buying the product themselves without even using it. It was through this means that the company created the illusion that it already had hundreds of thousands of legitimate VoIP customers. The company also claimed to have sold about 12.4 million VoIP plans when, in reality, it only had an extremely small number of legitimate customers. In fact, out of the small number of customers, an even smaller number actually paid for the service. The company was Telex. It was incorporated on February 15, 2012, in Brazil and headquartered in Marlborough, Massachusetts, United States. The VoIP service offered by the company was known as 99 Telex. Telex acted as a sister company to many other companies operating the Telex marketing plan. Such companies included Impactus Commercial Lut, Telex LC, and Telex Canada Incorporated. Going further with the increasing number of Telex investors, by April 2014, over 1 million people across the globe had signed up with the company. Its reach extended far beyond Brazil, with branches established in the United States and other countries. As Telex gained momentum, its marketing strategy became increasingly aggressive. Promoters touted the company's exponential growth and made claims of success stories, enticing even more individuals to join the company. In other words, the promise of financial freedom and wealth creation made the company even more appealing to people, many of whom couldn't resist the urge to join as they were introduced to the company by existing participants. In response, there was a surge in membership and investment, such that Telex customer base grew to nearly 2 million. But at a point, the company took some actions that would normally be regarded as red flags. Of course, that's for those who were wise enough to identify those actions for what they really were. For instance, the company allowed certain participants whose integrity had been dented to join it. One such individual it received with open arms was San Rodriguez, a self-proclaimed millionaire. Rodriguez had previously operated a similar multi-level marketing phone card fraud, shuttered by the SEC in 2006. Despite his run-in with the law, Telex flaunted him as its top promoter. Normally, his past should have set alarm bells for investors, but sadly, the investors were not suspicious. They continued to live under the illusion that they were in for the right opportunity. Also, over its 2 years of operations, Telex employed multiple financial accounts, including domestic and international bank accounts, as well as various online payment processors, to facilitate its fraudulent activities and offers. Within a few months, almost all financial institutions terminated their relationship with Telex, citing issues bordering on the company's continued bleak financial operations. Most of the financial institutions would later consider the company a risk that they were no longer willing to bear. Meanwhile, Telex Re's long-standing US-based payment processor, iPayout, previously described Telex Re's product as compliant with all US laws after it completed a due diligence test on the company. What a twist of events! Moving forward, many investors ignored these signs, and more investors kept joining the company. They must have been overwhelmed by the quick and substantial returns promised to them by the company. It wasn't long before skeptics questioned the integrity and sustainability of Telex Re's business model. They pointed to discrepancies in its financial reports and the lack of tangible evidence to support the VoIP services it claimed to offer. For instance, between 2012 and 2013, Telex Re identified 4,845,576 VoIP program transactions totaling $238,395,353.80. However, the net revenue it raised from VoIP program sales was significantly less due to substantial commission payments. Also, Wanzeler couldn't identify the number of individuals purchasing only a VoIP program without also becoming participants. He provided wildly varied estimates when challenged to identify the number of VoIP programs sold to non-participants. Over the same period, Telex Re had 783,771 investments of either $289 or $1,375. Totaling $880,189,455.32. Assuming each participant invested only $289 and only posted one advertisement per day, Telex Re owed participants a total of $799,446,420. In the same vein, if each participant invested only $1,375 and only posted 5 advertisements a day, Telex Re owes $3,997,232,100 to its participants. Meanwhile, data provided by Telex Re indicated that $1,375 accounted for 88% of transactions through Massachusetts-based participants. Even if only 50% of all participant investments were for $1,375, Telex Re would still owe $2,398,897,200, a number that far exceeds Telex Re's reported total revenues over the same period. Note that this figure of almost $2.4 billion does not even include further bonuses, recruitment commissions, or revenue sharing. Meanwhile, the company's leaders dismissed the claims and even promised greater returns in the future. Even its head of Brazilian operations and Wanzeler's longtime friend, Carlos Costa, kept making YouTube videos in defense of the company. In late 2013, amid the criticisms, Merrill began to take steps to change how the company operated. He did so without informing the unsuspecting public, who continued to get deceived by the company's exponential growth. Funnily enough, this seeming growth validated Telex Re's claims that it was aimed at making its investors enjoy financial prosperity. This claim further reinforced the illusion of success, luring in even more unsuspecting investors. As criticisms against Telex Re grew, many investors began to doubt the company and what it stood for. Now, it's about to get more interesting. In early 2014, regulatory authorities in Brazil and the United States launched investigations into Telex Re's operations. Red flags were raised regarding the legality of its business model, which fueled concerns among investors and regulators alike. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, began to investigate Telex Re. They filed charges against the company and its leaders for operating what appeared to be an illegal Ponzi and pyramid scheme. As with pyramid schemes, participants make most of their money simply by recruiting new members. The moment there is no longer a supply of new recruits, the schemes collapse. While those at the top of the pyramid make money, those near the bottom continue to hold the bag. The difference between a pyramid or Ponzi scheme and a multi-level marketing company, which Telex reclaimed to be, is that a legitimate multi-level marketing company generates its revenue from the actual sale of a product, while a pyramid or Ponzi scheme does not. The allegations against Telex Re, both in Brazil and the United States, were so damning. Investigations revealed that it defrauded investors of hundreds of millions of dollars through false promises and deceptive marketing practices. On June 13, 2013, Telex Re's Brazilian operations were suspended and the owner's assets were frozen. Reacting to the suspension, Telex Re Brazil stated that its company was prohibited from getting new subscriptions, selling its 99 Telex Re VoIP accounts, and paying commissions, bonuses, and benefits. Similarly, Telex Re promoters protested the suspension. Marcus Franca, one of the top promoters, stated, "We won't go back to the hole like the system wants us to," referring to the labor of weeding grass commonly performed by lower-class Brazilian countrymen. Later on, Telex Re attempted to divert $88 million to other parent companies in Brazil. Despite numerous appeals, numbering 10, the suspension was held. Still, Telex Re Brazil, Impactus Commercialita, denied its involvement in a Ponzi scheme. Rather, it claimed that it was operating under a multi-level marketing structure and commercializing VoIP services, in another attempt to secure a court order to have its assets unfrozen and its operations resumed. Telex Re offered the court its brand as a guarantee of payment. It stated that its company was worth approximately $300 million. The offer was rejected, and the suspension remained. 4 months later, there were allegations of logo plagiarism against the company. It was accused of plagiarizing the logo of the 2010 Badminton World Federation World Championships. After the episode, Telex Re and the logo's designer, Vixme Solicos, announced a rebranding without making any official statement about the case. Apart from the legal action by BWF, Telex Re was also found guilty of lacking a license to provide VoIP services in the country. It was subsequently fined by the Brazilian Telecommunications Regulatory Agency. In another instance, the insurance company Liberty Seguros released a note on its website denying a purported partnership between it and Telex Re. It described the partnership as unfounded and false advertising. A cautionary injunction was issued against the Telex Re by the Acre State Court. Despite the injunction, director Carlos Costa later released a video stating an alleged contract between Telex Re and insurance company Mafre Seguros. The aim was to create the impression that the company was reliable. Just as you'd expect, Mafre stated that the contract was false. It claimed it only received documents to study an insurance proposal, which ended up not being executed. So Telex Re lied again. After 13 failed attempts to overturn the injunction, shutting down its operations in Brazil, Impactus Commercialita declared bankruptcy on September 20, 2013. The company claimed it needed to pay its investors per a bankruptcy plan presented to the Ministry of Justice. The court guaranteed the maximum pro rata amount would be returned to investors at the right time. In November 2013, Telex Re Brazil made a last attempt to avoid its operations being audited. It managed to arrange mediation with Brazilian legal authorities so it could return to business. Unfortunately, both parties couldn't reach an agreement. Following the stalemate, BDO carried out an audit of Telex Re Brazil's operations. In September 2015, the company was convicted by the Justice of Acre State for operating a pyramid scheme. Likewise, in the United States, an investigation was launched into the operations and activities of Telex Re LLC. It was during the process that the full extent of the damage caused by the company became painfully clear. For instance, it was discovered that Merrill wired himself and 2 co-conspirators a total of $10 million from Telex Re accounts in December 2013. 4 months later, specifically on April 13, 2014, Telex Re Incorporated, and Telex Financial Incorporated filed for bankruptcy under Chapter 11 of the United States Bankruptcy Code. The cases were heard in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Massachusetts. At that point, Telex owed approximately $6 billion to its participants, while having only $120 million at hand. That's about 2% of what it owed. Approximately 1,855,000 participants worldwide lost money in the scheme, with total losses of about $3,045 million. Overall, these victims came primarily from the United States, all 50 states, Brazil, China, Portugal, Peru, other Central and South American nations, Italy, and Russia, with smaller victim populations in dozens of other countries. Still on the bankruptcy case, in June 2014, Stephen V. Darr of the financial advisory firm Huron Consulting was appointed the trustee in the Telex Incorporated bankruptcy case. As trustee, he was responsible for collecting Telex assets, resolving disputes regarding claims filed against Telex and distributing available funds to creditors. It is important to state that the civil bankruptcy case and a criminal case against the leaders of Telex were separate legal actions that were heard in different courts by different judges. After due investigations, Mr. Darr discovered that at least 1 million participants opened 11 million accounts in 2 years through Telex Marlborough office. He would later meet with a few hundred alleged Telex victims at a meeting hosted by the Chelsea Collaborative, Greater Boston Legal Services, and the Brazilian Women's Group. Following the discovery, Telex was shut down in Brazil in 2013, and its Massachusetts office was raided by federal authorities in April 2014. As news of the SEC charges spread, panic swept through the ranks of investors who realized they had fallen victim to a carefully orchestrated scam. The fallout from the Telex scandal was catastrophic, dealing a devastating financial blow to its investors. Remember, these investors had placed their trust and money in the company, waiting patiently to get their rewards. Reality dawned on them that their investments had gone down the drain. These investors were left with nothing. Many of them had invested their life savings and retirement funds, and even borrowed money in the hopes of securing a better future for themselves and their families. The financial loss came with reports of shattered relationships, bankruptcies, and even suicides among those affected by the scam. They took money from people that were not rich. They are greedy. They wanted more money, but they have to think about what they did for poor people and sick people like me. Telex member Eloise Eurix said, referring to Merrill and Wanzeler. Eurix, who suffers from multiple ailments, lost her life savings of more than $20,000. She had hoped to use the Telex earnings to pay for heart surgery. It was finally established that Telex was a billion-dollar Ponzi scheme. Its revenue was largely derived from the recruitment of new members rather than the sale of actual products or services. Over the 2 years Telex operated, it derived approximately 2% from sales of VoIP service. The remaining 98% was from new people joining the scheme and subscribing to the membership packages. This way, the company's financial structure couldn't have been sustainable. And the reason is simple. The platform relied on a constant influx of new funds to pay returns to existing investors. After all, that's the only way it could pay the returns it promised. Telex also made appearances in other countries, including Dominican Republic, Colombia, and Peru. While launching the company in the Dominican Republic, Carlos Wanzeler, Sanderly, San Rodriguez, and Steve Labriola were featured in 2 local TV channels, namely TV Color Vision and TV Teleuniverso. Unfortunately, an investigation carried out by Color Vision revealed that Telex had no local office or authorization to sell VoIP services in the country, and their office in Massachusetts is only a virtual one. Similarly, the Colombian magazine released an article in November 2013 about the operations of Telex in Colombia. Its mode of operation and promise of high return were compared to other local broken Ponzi schemes, including DMG Group that previously affected the country's economy. In December 2013, The operations of Telex Re LLC were prohibited by Superintendencia de Bana Seguros by AFP, SBS, in Peru. As a way of preventing its citizens from joining the company, Peruvian authorities directed its citizens to report any operations from the company and another recently shut down Hong Kong-based Ponzi scheme to the National Police and the Public Ministry. In the aftermath of the Telex Re scandal, the U.S. District Court made James Merrill and Carlos Wanzeler face the consequences of their actions as it passed its judgment in March 2017. Merrill, who was 55 at that time, pleaded guilty to 1 count of wire fraud conspiracy and 8 counts of wire fraud. He agreed to forfeit approximately $140 million and other assets, including real estate properties, luxury vehicles, and boats, in exchange for a reduced sentence. Despite his cooperation, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison, obviously to serve as a deterrent to others. In addition to the sentence, he also bagged 3 years of supervised release. Acting U.S. Attorney William D. Weinreb has this to say about the judgment. Despite knowing that Telex Re was a pyramid scheme, Mr. Merrill profited for years at the expense of the hard-working individuals who invested in the fraudulent company. For the hundreds of thousands of investors, here and around the world, who were taken in by the lies promoted by Mr. Merrill and Telex Re, today's sentence provides a measure of justice. Mr. Merrill's greed damaged the livelihoods of thousands of people who were struggling to make ends meet. Matthew Ader, special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations in Boston, also said, while the harm and damage James Merrill caused by stealing more than $3 billion from innocent investors can never be repaired, his victims in more than 240 countries around the world can take some small measure of satisfaction that he is now looking at 6 years in federal prison and a substantial forfeiture as repayment for his crimes. HSI special agents will continue to aggressively investigate those who seek to profit by taking advantage of others. On the other hand, Wanzeler faced a 17-count federal indictment alleging conspiracy and fraud. But on the day federal agents raided Telex Re's offices, he fled first to Canada and then to Brazil, his native country, to evade extradition. He remains a fugitive from justice in the country. Despite efforts by U.S. authorities to apprehend him, Wanzeler continues to elude capture. There is currently a federal warrant for his arrest. Prosecutors said at the time that Wanzeler was in a hurry to leave the United States. He left millions of dollars hidden in the greater Boston area. In 2015, an intermediary who was working on behalf of Wanzeler sought the help of an associate to launder cash through Hong Kong, convert it to Brazilian reals, and then transfer it to Brazilian accounts. In January 2017, Rocha, who was working as a courier for Wanzeler's representative in Brazil, flew to New York City. He later met the cooperating witness in Hudson, giving him a suitcase containing $2.2 million of Wanzeler's hidden Telex Re money. He intended that the cooperating witness would help to launder the cash out of the U.S. Unfortunately, he was arrested after he was followed to an apartment in Westboro, Mass. After a thorough search of the apartment, authorities discovered approximately $20 million in cash hidden in a bed's box spring. Rocha was sentenced to 33 months in prison and 1 year of supervised release after pleading guilty to 1 count of conspiring to commit money laundering and 1 count of money laundering. For the other defendants, they were required to account for all proceeds received as a result of the alleged wrongdoing and to offer restitution to and fairly compensate investors for those losses attributable to the alleged wrongdoing. In addition, they were to disgorge all profits and other direct and indirect remuneration received from the alleged wrongdoing. The defendants included Steve Labriola, International Marketing Director of Telex Re, Fabio Wanzeler, Director of Telex Re, Livia Wanzeler, Signatory Authority of Telex Re, and San Rodriguez. After numerous years of legal wrangling, some participants who fell victim to the $3 billion Telex Re pyramid scheme got back some of their money. For instance, in Massachusetts, which was the hardest hit in the country, about 14,000 victims were reimbursed for some of their losses. The reimbursement was taken out of a $3.5 million settlement state regulators reached with Fidelity Bank of Fitchburg connected to the case. In 2020, Judge Melvin S. Hoffman of the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in Boston approved a plan to disperse more than $150 million to about 100,000 people who lost money following the collapse of Telex in 2014. The compensation plan was to distribute 39 to 43% of approved claims. Also, a lawyer from Rondinopolis, Mato Grosso, won in court the right to have his invested money, amounting to $50,000, reimbursed. Most of the money used for settling investors who lost their money was from the proceeds gotten after liquidating Telex assets seized by the Justice Department in 2014. Finally, the concept of working from home, coupled with the financial freedom and flexibility that come with being one's own boss, can be alluring. Scammers understand how tempting it can be and therefore leverage it to perpetrate various crimes, such as the Telex scam. Any scheme that requires you to invest before getting the right to sell something is most likely a scam. Also, if you have to make other people work for you to earn some rewards, you should give it a second thought before going ahead and taking advantage of any investment opportunity. Although the perpetrators of the $1.7 billion Telex fraud ended up being punished, the emotional trauma they made their victims go through will remain indelible. And that brings us to the end of the story of the largest fraud of all time, especially when we consider the number of people affected and how the victims spread across various countries. If you found the story interesting, kindly like and share the video. And remember to subscribe for more videos.